In the stillness between heartbeats, in the silence before your final breath, something stirs in the dark. Not a ghost, not a demon, a god, a Shinigami. Before we knew their names, we felt their presence. The term Shinigami didn't exist in Japan's ancient religions. Neither Shinto nor Buddhism had a clear god of death, like Hades or Thanatos. Instead, death was diffuse, managed by a network of spirits, ancestors, and karma. But in the Edo-period, as urban legends, kabuki plays, and ghost stories bloomed, a word surfaced. A whisper passed from actor to audience, from page to paper. Shinigami. They were born in the twilight between religion and theater, between folk belief and fear. Shinigami were not gods in the divine sense, but gods in the way thunder is a god. Inevitable, untouchable. Shinigami don't kill, they invite. Their presence isn't marked by blood, but by coincidence. A candle that goes out for no reason, a child walking into traffic without knowing why. They don't force the door open, they just leave it unlocked. In some tales, a Shinigami will sit silently in a room for days, invisible. The air grows cold, the animals grow quiet, and then one night, the occupant stands, walks to the river, and never returns. No one pushed him, the neighbors say. He just left. One kabuki tale from the 1700s tells of a grieving man who, after the death of his lover, wanders to a forgotten temple. There, he meets her spirit, or so he thinks. But this spirit is not his lost love. It's a Shinigami in disguise, preying on his sorrow. It tells him they can be together again, if he takes his own life. He obeys, but instead of reunion, his soul becomes trapped, a eerie, forever echoing with pain. The Shinigami doesn't weep, it moves on, seeking the next soul weak enough to listen. These early Shinigami weren't guardians of death, they were harvesters of tragedy. Death, in Japanese folklore, has rules. One old tale says Shinigami can be seen, but only by the cursed or the chosen. If it stands at the foot of the bed, the patient will recover. If at the head, death is inevitable. But one man, a clever fraudster, learns this rule and begins using it for profit. He miraculously cures the dying by simply turning them in bed. But fate cannot be tricked forever. One night, as he sleeps, the Shinigami visits. It doesn't speak. It simply tips over the oil lamp that represents his life. As the flame dies, he screams, but it is too late. The gods of death have no patience for arrogance. There are whispers of minor Shinigami, rarely spoken of even in folklore. These are not gods, but spirits in service to death. The lantern bearer, who appears at crossroads, lighting the path to the next world. The river drowner, said to dwell in lonely marshes, singing lullabies that draw wanderers into the deep. The mirror ghost, who appears in reflections when a person is about to die and cannot be seen by anyone else. Some say each person is assigned a Shinigami from birth, a shadow companion, watching silently until the appointed time. Sometimes they wait a lifetime, sometimes only a few days. Though the old myths have faded, the Shinigami have not. Today, they wear different faces. In Death Note, the bored, apple-eating Ryuk gives humans power over death itself. In Bleach, the Soul Reapers are warriors who battle monsters and fairy souls. In Black Butler, Shinigami are office clerks of oblivion, wielding scythes like bureaucratic swords. but each variation reflects the same truth. We are not afraid of death itself. We are afraid of being seen by death. Even now, there are people in rural Japan who refuse to sleep facing north, believing it attracts Shinigami. There are still families who cover mirrors when someone dies, so the Shinigami can't use it as a door. And there are urban legends, modern myths of people who hear a whisper before an accident, or who see a man in black just before a loved one dies. It was just a shadow, they say, a trick of the light. But what if it wasn't? In every culture, death takes a form. In Japan, it wears a smile, a whisper, a shadow. It doesn't need to chase you. It simply waits, at the edge of sleep, at the bottom of the stairwell, in the moment you forget why you walked into a room. Shinigami don't knock. They don't ask permission. They just arrive when your story ends. Not as villains, not as saviors, just as truth. So if the night feels colder than it should, if the silence suddenly presses in, you may not be alone.